China is a huge landscape where beautiful nature meets old traditions. This place has some of the most amazing views in the world that travelers love to see. Today we will explore incredible places that are both beautiful and full of history. Every mountain, river, and rock has its own story to tell. You can visit the quiet old town where a river flows slowly under old roofs covered in moss. In central China, there's a place where rocks and cliffs here look like something from a dream. Nature created this magical place, and it's waiting for you to explore. You'll see an old temple built right into the tall cliffs. A narrow path takes you along the mountainside where you can enjoy both the amazing views and feel the spiritual history of the place. Each place we've mentioned is special and full of surprises. Get ready to explore these wonderful locations where China's beauty will amaze you and create memories you'll never forget. There are places in China where stone pillars rise 600 feet straight up. So impossibly thin that every gust of wind feels like it might be the one that finally brings them down. But they've been standing for millions of years. Wrapped in mist so thick the line between rock and sky disappears completely. In some valleys, when light hits just right, the ground glows, not like sunset, like something that shouldn't exist outside of a painting. These won't be found in glossy travel guides. There are no crowds here. No buses idling in parking lots. Just silence and stone shaped by time itself. The kind of beauty that makes breath catch in the throat without permission. The ancient Chinese believed these were the places where heaven touched the earth, stand before them. And the reason becomes clear. China's landscapes are so magical. They seem straight out of a dream. Gaoyiling emerges from the Zhangye Danxia landscape in Gansu province, where millions of years of geological activity created one of Earth's most visually striking terrains. The area is characterized by Danxia formations. Layers of red sandstone and conglomerate deposited between 540 and 65 million years ago. Then uplifted, folded, and eroded into the current landscape of steep ridges, narrow valleys, and multicolored cliffs. What sets Gaoyiling apart is the intensity and variety of colors visible in the rock. Bands of red, orange, yellow, white, and even green and blue streak across cliff faces, creating patterns that look painted rather than natural. These colors come from different minerals and varying oxidation states of iron within the sandstone. Red appears where iron fully oxidized. Yellow shows partial oxidation. The terrain is characterized by steep knife-edge ridges that rise abruptly from valley floors. Some ridges are only a few feet wide at their crests, dropping hundreds of feet on both sides. Walking these ridges requires careful attention and steady nerves, as the exposure is significant and surfaces can be loose. This ongoing process means the landscape is never static. Features that existed a century ago may have changed or disappeared entirely, while new formations slowly emerge. On stormy nights, people claim to hear roaring sounds echoing through valleys, interpreted as the dragon's voice rising from within the mountain. Photographers particularly prize Gaoyiling for its visual drama, as changing light throughout the day transforms the landscape repeatedly. Mount Fanjing rises 8,430 feet into the clouds of Jiuzhaigou province, crowned by one of the strangest rock formations anywhere on the planet. These twin spires look like they were balanced there by some giant hand rather than carved by natural forces. This place is one of China's most sacred Buddhist mountains and a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The mountain's foundation is over 1 billion years old, formed during a time when Earth's continents were still drifting and colliding. Getting to the summit means climbing stone staircases that cling to vertical cliff faces. Some carved into the rock more than 1,000 years ago by Buddhist monks. What makes Mount Fanjing truly special is the rare life that exists here and nowhere else on Earth. The Guizhou golden monkey, with its distinctive blue face and golden fur, lives only in these mountain forests. Fewer than 800 remain, making them one of the world's most endangered primates. The twin peaks at the summit hold Buddhist temples that seem to grow directly from the stone. Their red walls standing against wind and weather. Thick fog surrounds the mountain more than 200 days each year, wrapping the peaks in white clouds. When the fog clears, the view stretches for dozens of miles, revealing layer after layer of green mountains, fading into blue distance. At sunrise, if conditions are perfect, the clouds below form a solid white blanket, making it look like the mountain is floating in an endless ocean of mist. Standing on the narrow bridge between the twin peaks, wind rushes up from the valleys with enough force to make you grab safety chains. And the boundary between the physical world and something beyond feels paper thin. Xinjiang Tianshan Tiani Scenic Area, Tiani meaning Heavenly Lake, sits at 6,400 feet above sea level in Xinjiang. Cradled between towering peaks that remain snow-covered year-round, the lake stretches nearly 2 miles long. Its waters so clear that sunlight penetrates more than 40 feet deep, revealing a turquoise color that shifts from pale jade to deep blue depending on the angle of light. This lake was born from ancient glacial activity thousands of years ago. Massive ice sheets carved deep basins into solid rock. And when the climate warmed, meltwater filled these depressions, creating the pristine body of water visible today. The lake's depth reaches 344 feet in some areas, fed continuously by snowmelt from peaks that tower more than 16,400 foot overhead. Surrounding the lake, dense forests of spruce and fir trees cover the lower slopes, their dark green branches contrasting sharply with the bright water. Ancient legends claim this lake is the bathing pool of the Queen Mother of the West, a powerful deity from Taoist mythology. According to stories passed down for centuries, she would descend from the heavens to bathe in the pure waters, blessing the lake with eternal beauty. At sunrise, the lake becomes a perfect mirror, reflecting mountains and sky so clearly that the boundary between water and air seems to vanish. Zhangye spreads across the mountains of Hubei province, covering over 1,250 square miles of some of the wildest terrain in China. This vast wilderness rises from valley floors at 1,300 feet to peaks reaching 10,500 feet, creating dramatic elevation changes that support an incredible range of plant and animal life. Moving higher, trees transition to oaks and maples that create spectacular red and gold displays each autumn. When this happens, the forest takes on an otherworldly quality with tree trunks appearing and disappearing like ghosts. This perpetual moisture feeds countless waterfalls that pour down cliff faces, some dropping hundreds of feet. Though no concrete proof exists, the mystery continues to draw researchers hoping to solve one of China's most enduring puzzles. Climbing through ecological zones that shift from subtropical forests at the base to alpine conditions near the top. Lower slopes are thick with broadleaf trees, bamboo groves, and flowering shrubs. Waterfalls pour down rock faces, some dropping over 200 feet as altitude increases, coniferous trees replace broadleaf species, and the temperature drops noticeably. Near the summit, only hardy shrubs and grasses survive the cold and wind. Temperature can drop below freezing, even in summer, and winter brings heavy snow. Yet thousands of pilgrims make the climb each year. Some spending days on the mountain path, stopping at temples to pray and rest. The mountain is home to Tibetan macaques with thick fur who huddle together for warmth during winter. The person's shadow is cast onto the mist surrounded by rings of colored light like a rainbow. This has been observed for centuries and is considered a sacred sign. At dawn, if the weather aligns, climbers witness the sea of clouds. Thick fog fills valleys below, while mountain peaks rise above like islands in a white ocean. As the sun breaks the horizon, it illuminates this cloud sea from above, turning it gold and pink. Standing in the cold morning air, watching light transform mist, the boundary between earth and heaven feels permeable. Yandong Mountains stretch across eastern Jiangye province, a volcanic landscape born from eruptions that occurred roughly 120 million years ago. When the volcanoes went dormant, they left behind a terrain of sharp peaks, deep gorges, and towering cliffs formed from rhyolite. Over millions of years, water and wind carved these rocks into shapes that seem designed rather than natural. The mountains rise abruptly from flat coastal plains, creating visual drama that has inspired Chinese artists for over 1,000 years. Some peaks reach 3,800 feet, their sides nearly vertical and summits often shrouded in mist. Between peaks, narrow valleys cut deep into rock, their floors lined with streams that swell into torrent during heavy rains. The combination creates dozens of waterfalls, some dropping over 600 feet in single cascades. What makes Yindang truly unusual is how the landscape appears to change depending on viewing angle and time of day. Certain rock formations look completely different when seen from different positions. A cliff that resembles a dragon's head from one spot might look like an old man's profile from another. Ancient monks identified 102 distinct peaks, each with its own name and legend. Caves riddle the cliffs, some natural and others enlarged by monks seeking isolated meditation spots. These caves range from small alcoves to enormous chambers. Some contain ancient carvings, Buddhist statues, or inscriptions left by pilgrims dating back over 1,000 years. The vegetation varies dramatically with altitude and exposure. South-facing slopes support lush forests while north-facing slopes stay cooler with mosses and ferns. One famous spot is the Flying Waterfall, where water drops 620 foot over a sheer cliff. During dry seasons, it reduces to a thin stream. After heavy rains, it transforms into a massive column of white water that roars, throwing up clouds of mist that drift across the gorge. The sound can be heard more than a mile away. Phoenix's ancient town clings to the banks of the Tuojiang River in western Hunan province. Its wooden houses built directly over the water on sturdy stilts that have supported them for centuries. The town dates back over 1,300 years, though most existing structures were built during the Ming and Qing dynasties between the 14th and 19th centuries. Walking through Phoenix feels like stepping into another era. The river flows through the heart of the town. Its clear green water reflecting houses that line both banks. These buildings are constructed in Miao and Tua ethnic minority styles, featuring dark wooden frames, upturned eaves, and intricate carvings. At night, red lanterns hang from every balcony and doorway, their light rippling on the water's surface and transforming the town into a scene from classical Chinese paintings. Stone-paved streets wind between houses, worn smooth by countless footsteps over hundreds of years. These alleys are narrow, sometimes barely wide enough for two people to pass. Small shops sell traditional crafts, local specialties, and items used in everyday life by ethnic minorities. The sound of artisans working creates a constant background rhythm. Stone bridges arch over the river, their designs hundreds of years old. The most famous Hong Bridge stretches 425 feet and includes covered pavilions where people can rest and watch water flow beneath. From the bridge, views extend both directions, showing layered roof lines against green mountains. The town is deeply connected to the Miao people, one of China's 56 recognized ethnic minorities. Their culture shows in architecture, clothing, festivals, and customs, maintained despite centuries of change. Langan Scenic Area in Hunan Province showcases Danxia landforms at their most dramatic, where red sandstone cliffs rise vertically from forested valleys, creating walls that glow orange and crimson in changing height. These formations developed over 100 million years through specific geological processes. Thick layers of red sandstone were deposited during the Cretaceous period, then uplifted by tectonic forces and carved by water. The area covers roughly 45 square miles, containing 6 distinct scenic zones. Some sections show massive cliff faces that climb 600 feet in single vertical walls. Their surfaces marked by horizontal layers representing different periods of sediment deposition. Other areas feature narrow corridors where walkers barely fit between stone walls, rising hundreds of feet on both sides. Water played the primary role in shaping Liangshan's landscape. Over millions of years, streams carved down through sandstone, following lines of weakness and gradually deepening valleys. The red color comes from iron oxide within the sandstone. Essentially rust distributed throughout the rock. When freshly exposed surfaces weather, they often show brighter reds and oranges. Older surfaces tend toward darker browns and purples, creating natural gradients across cliff faces. The name Huku means kettle spout, describing how the river appears to pour from a narrow opening like water from a teapot. The geological setting adds to Huku's drama. The waterfall occurs where the river crosses a resistant band of rock that has not eroded as quickly as surrounding material. This creates the sudden drop. Over time, the waterfall will continue to erode the resistant rock and slowly migrate upstream. Though this process occurs so gradually, it's invisible on human timescales. During winter, parts of the waterfall freeze, creating massive ice formations that build up around the edges while water continues flowing through the center. These ice structures can reach impressive sizes, forming frozen sculptures that glitter in cold sunlight. The contrast between flowing water and static ice creates a visual paradox. Longmen grottos stretch along the Ye River near Liang in Henan province, where more than 2,300 caves and niches have been carved into limestone cliffs over 400 years. The Vairocana Buddha dominates the Fengxian Temple Cave, its face alone measuring 13 feet from top to bottom. The statue sits in a serene pose, hands positioned in a mudra of teaching, expression calm and slightly smiling. The limestone cliffs proved ideal for carving. The rock is relatively soft when first exposed, making it easier to shape, but it hardens over time when exposed to air. However, this same property makes statues vulnerable to weathering. Rain, wind, and pollution have eroded details from many carvings. Walking along clifftop paths, visitors pass cave after cave, each containing its own arrangement of statues and reliefs. Some caves feature single large Buddhas while others contain hundreds of small niches. The repetition creates a hypnotic effect. Image after image of the same religious subjects rendered in slightly different ways, reflecting changes in artistic style over construction centuries. The site contains 53 major caves and over 51,000 statues, making it one of the largest surviving examples of early Chinese Buddhist art. Unlike Longmen's limestone, Yungang sandstone presents different challenges and opportunities for sculptors, resulting in a distinct artistic style. The statues here show strong influence from Central Asian and Indian art, reflecting Silk Road connections that brought Buddhism to China. Many figures have features that blend Chinese and foreign characteristics, with some Buddhas showing distinctly non-Chinese facial structures, clothing styles, and decorative elements. This cultural fusion makes Yungang particularly valuable for understanding how Buddhism adapted as it spread eastward. These are the places where heaven touched the earth and left fingerprints in stone. Where time moves differently. Where silence carries weight. Where standing still becomes its own journey into understanding how small humanity remains before the patient, unstoppable power of the natural world.